For many years, Southeast Nigeria was once considered one of the safest geopolitical zones in the country. But with increased killings, violence, and kidnappings, security in the region has deteriorated. Some religious leaders and experts have now urged President Tinubu to consider alternative views and urgently convene a non-partisan National Economic and Security Summit to forge a collective way forward for the country. They also say the latest killings and kidnappings in the zone are a wake-up call for the governors of the Southeast, as well as the joint security and armed forces, to buckle up in their responsibility of protecting lives and property of citizens. Joining us in the studio for this conversation is a public affairs analyst, Ziggy Ibe. Ziggy, good morning. It's good to have you join us. And Happy New Year.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Happy New Year.
Yes. Now, let's talk about security in the Southeast. We have seen several efforts being made by the president, and even successive governments have tried to ensure that that region is safe as much as possible. And recently, the current administration, through the National Bureau of Statistics, debuted the Crime Experience and Security Perception Survey. And from that survey, it is revealed that in the 2024 report that out of the 6 geopolitical zones, the Southeast recorded the lowest rate of 6.2 million in terms of insecurity and the perception of it. But from your perspective, how would you evaluate the security situation in the Southeast and government's effort side by side?
Thank you. I think we've discussed this a million times, and things don't seem to be abating. Security in any situation, any part of the world, is not a thing that is being looked at with the least consideration. It is about upping the game and trying to see much any government could to actually step in and stop whatever thing that is causing the problem. Southeast, my region, is been in the news for the wrong ones many times, and we've seen government efforts, little or big, but whichever way it is, what has actually culminated into this high rate is maybe efforts are not being put in place. Much effort are not being put in place into curbing it. We've seen so many. Yeah,
because are you saying that it's not targeting the issues, addressing it from the
I think there's a root cause. I think they should actually go into thinking, why is this persisting? What is actually causing this? Because over the years, efforts have been put forward to actually stem it. But it's not abating. And if it's not abating, that means a new paradigm, a new shift needs to be employed. So we need to look at a different approach this time.
Now, that's why I'm coming back to ask this question again. From your perspective, being from that region, what do you think is the root cause that perhaps the government effort is not addressing in particular?
Many pundits, people have, many had suggested it was because Nnamdi Kanu was still in detention. Many had suggested that he should be left off the hook in order to see if it will be abated.
So that is not even a definite approach?
It's not a definite approach anyway. So yeah, these are suggestions people are coming up with because it's not stopping. Instead of stopping, it is being aggravated every day. Okay, and we are saying if other efforts being put forward are not actually helping, let's contrive a new means of getting to the root of this. Because if you have been trying other means and those means are not working, let's see a new approach. Recently, the governors had met, they've been meeting, and some solutions they took wasn't still helping. Ibubagu and so many other security outfits. And most times when they go to their meetings, they don't discuss what they arrived at. They will always tell you security issues are not discussed in the public. I agree with them. But whichever way it is, being at the front burner, they should know that what we've discussed earlier or what we've put forward earlier are not working. Right. Let's contrive a new approach. Because the way it is, it is neither here nor there.
Do you not think Nnamdi Kanu, as I mentioned, is also symptomatic of the real problem in the Southeast? Because if you look at the historical context, there is this Biafra war. It has a legacy, and there's some other people who already had the ideology of, yes, we are being marginalized, and then we need to have our own, self-determination. There's this secessionist agenda who are also canvassing the right to, break away from the country. Do you not feel that this must have been a root cause that some people are not letting go of?
Nnamdi Kanu's incarceration is just one of the causes, not actually the main cause.
Yeah, that is the question.
Okay.
I was asking.
Yes, because
exactly what is the problem?
Because if you look at it, insecurity in other regions of the country had where it started from. Okay, we talk about Mohammed when kidnapping Yusuf started. We talk about
ideology.
And the ideology he was coming up with. Okay, then you talk about South agitations and all that and all. When Southeast issue started, it started with some grievances. They were saying the region was marginalized and all that, and that fueled Nnamdi Kanu's agitation to actually secede from Nigeria as a country. Okay, and Nnamdi Kanu, when he was incarcerated, when he was arrested, it fueled it. Okay, yeah. Then, and some other issues like, when this thing happened, it wasn't actually looked at holistically. That has been our way of tackling issues anyway. It wasn't until it aggravated to the point where everybody was running helter-skelter. All right, and when Nnamdi Kanu actually eventually was incarcerated, the thing didn't abate. Yeah. It continues, and now some other people felt it's becoming a business. Whether you like it or not, insecurity in the Southeast is becoming an enterprising thing. I've argued in so many fora that, look, release Nnamdi Kanu today, it will still be continued because so many people have found it a wet ground to accentuate their business enterprise.
Are you looking at it from the internal influence or external influence? For instance, someone probably can say it could be internal and external. He has been arrested now. He even said at the point that even Nnamdi Kanu, if he had a chance to come to him to ask him to stop,
he will not
stop.
Yes.
That was against what he said at the beginning, that
exactly
releasing Nnamdi Kanu. So this business venture that you're seeing in the Southeast as profiting from the insecurity, are you saying that is due to internal influence or external? No,
it is the greed of the people
of the Southeastern.
It's the greed of the leaders are not actually they are not actually wading when they're supposed to have waded into this matter to actually curb it. Because every issue has a root cause. Until you go to the root cause of an issue, you can't exterminate it. You only window dress. And when you window dress issue, you are only stopping at a particular phase. It graduates from there. Okay? So and that's the business angle I'm looking at. That when...
If you could just hold the thought for a bit. Are you saying that the Southeastern leaders were not showing the right kind of commitment to addressing this matter, and so these people who are profiteering from the insecurity situation took advantage of that?
That's exactly my point. And recently, I made I made a post and saying that the elders in the region, certain leaders in the country are being set up, or an organization of leadership is being set up for a particular reason. The monarchical institution, which is the traditional rulers institution. Then we talk about the governors forum. We have all the leaders who I felt that they are not doing enough to actually...
In what sense? We need to be specific. So that for those who are watching, they understand that perhaps these are the loopholes that need to be addressed, so that when they are agitating in terms of making requests, we are not saying carrying placards and all of that, making requests of their leaders to do something, they will be able to take something off of what you have said. In what ways could they have addressed this matter holistically that they left out?
The lackadaisical attitude of the leaders from the region contributed largely to this.
How so?
Now, a father or a leader in a household watches things as they unfold. Now, it takes the intellect of the leader to actually come out when he needed to do that, to nip it in the bud. Yeah. So, some of these leaders were not pragmatic enough to actually rise up to the occasion when they needed to. Remember, when some people like us were actually singing this song of the leaders coming together to call the youth, the people that are causing this, most times they will tell you that they are armless. You remember the time when they were saying that these people are only agitating for their succession, not actually to cause harm. And meanwhile, they were heading to somewhere. And this is where we are today. So my point here is, if they had risen at that earlier time to curb it, it wouldn't have been this way. Yes, it would have been minimized. But this everyday shedding of blood is because the leaders did not rise early enough to curb it. How do I mean? In all the areas of the regions, we have leaders from the grassroots. We have those at the lower rung of the ladder. We have political leaders, we have traditional leaders, we have natives. Okay? These people should have called themselves together early enough to address this. Not until it has blossomed to become an enterprise that so many people are profiteering from. Because when a leader sees what he should have called today, seen it tomorrow, he should have called the leaders around him. There was a time we were saying that it is the denial of so many of these leaders who felt we don't need to do anything, or we don't need to talk to these people, or they are not harmful. But today, the chiefs are down.
But do you not think
and because it has grown to such a level where they cannot curb again, we have this issue on our hands, and we cannot move away from it.
This crisis is actually multifaceted, deep-rooted, in the sense that there is also criminal gangs and cult groups who are also internal strife. There is also conflict over resources, mining activities and all of those things going on there.
Land.
Exactly, and there is also the accusation of the state police, the federal police or federal security agencies attacking their own people and all of that. So it's quite multifaceted. So let's assume that the leaders have actually failed. The traditional leaders have not done what they ought to have done.
Yes, clearly on their table.
How do we resolve this matter?
Now, let me
because the federal government has actually promised to,
Let me give you an instance. You remember such incidents reared its ugly heads in Southwest during Sunday Igboho saga. You remember? And what happened? The leaders quickly rose up to the occasion and quelled it. Whether you like it, how they did it.
They managed it.
They managed it. Yeah, that's it. They stopped it. It's still reverberating and all that. But the issue is that it was held. Yeah. It was guarded. It was caged to an extent. Okay? And that's exactly what I'm saying, that when such issues are rearing their ugly heads, there's a way you could have curbed it. If you are such a leader who sees tomorrow, okay? See, I wouldn't want to talk about federal government. Yes, they have their own. But from the region where this thing is coming from, we have leaders who could, because these are your locals. These people are around you. Just a father residing with his children. So if anything goes wrong, you are there to advise. So I am saying that this advice or this caution did not come from them on time. You talk about traditional rulers. You talk about.
Yes, let's move to what should be done now, because yes,
what should be done is going to be a collaborative effort from the federal to the state, then to the local government. Thank God now local government has its own autonomy. It has powers more than before. Okay. Then traditional rulers should come in, because the traditional rulers know these people. They live in our localities.
What are they afraid of?
The conspiracy is what I don't know. Maybe afraid of the unknown, because the quiet is becoming too golden. The quiet is becoming too, the silence is becoming too golden. So at this point, they should come up with such effort that we'll be able to, okay, let's collaborate with the local government chairman. Let's move to the state. I think it was on this station too, or some other places we discussed about when issues of these locals are being discussed, they don't carry them along. They don't. They only go with the elites within the community, the elites. And the elites are not involved in this.
The locals are disinformed.
The locals are not being carried along. The people that are causing this actually are not being carried along. What they do is to go discuss for them, okay? And each time you discuss for them, you are foisting it on them. The situations, the informations, the decision taken from those meetings are not being, they are not first-hand, they don't have the first-hand information about it. So if they are being carried along, discussions are being made, their own input too is very important. Right. Their own input. Their own input is very important, because when you are discussing, you don't shave my head behind me. So you talk to me when I'm there. And at that point, look, whether you like it or not, everybody is a leader in his own way.
So in other words, you are advocating them convoking
all inclusiveness.
No, a regional confab.
Yes, a regional confab, yes, but then let the locals be involved in whatever discussions that will concern this. Okay, let's have all inclusive discussion about this. Because otherwise, if you discuss where they are not there, you only bring information that the information might not even reach them. They don't even know what. And some of these people, they don't even speak English.
Trust is also a critical issue. So
you have to be a critical. Part of, So if you don't make people come closer to you, if you don't tell them what they, in fact, you must speak the language they understand, because there's a language they understand.
Which is?
The language is when you talk to them like a father, when you carry them along. You don't go discuss for me only to come back and tell me this is what we said, not what we discussed there. I'm not there. You don't shave my head behind me. I must be there when my head is being shaved.
Because I understand where the shoe pinch.
Yes, because whether I like is they are aggrieved for one reason or the other. And what it means is that when we come to a general table, we lay bare all our grievances, and we should discuss it. So my approach to this is, let's call together all the locals, the people that are concerned in this, and not really the elites.
How about the Nnamdi Kanu factor, quickly?
Nnamdi Kanu factor, I wouldn't say much about it, but all I know is that this thing has grown beyond Nnamdi Kanu. In fact, it has grown beyond Simeon Ekpa. Because you remember, immediately Simeon Ekpa was taken in, another person rose to become the leader of that chapter. Okay, and that's the way it continues. When Nnamdi was taken in, Simeon Ekpa came up, even though the I denied he isn't their member. But he still was doing it from that front.
There are so many factions to this whole movement.
Oh, yeah. You remember Wazuke's faction, Mazop? You remember ISOP and all that? All these people maybe are waiting in the air. When other one suspends, the other one takes up and all that. But it should be an all-inclusive discussion. It's an ideology that has to be addressed. It has to be addressed. Whichever way it is, coming from the government, coming from the local state government, all these people have their leaders. The leaders of thought should come together. Political leaders.
Who know these people's leaders? They know
their leaders. They know themselves. Right. And each time you are going for this discussion particularly, please carry the people along. They will discuss better. Okay. It will yield more fruit than going alone, carrying the elites. And remember the conference sometimes where you go and the people will tell you, we are not carrying that. We don't even know what you are talking about.
All right. Ziggy, our time is up, unfortunately. I know there's so much you have to say, but time is not our friend.
Yes,
thank you so
always.
much, Ziggy Ibe, Public Affairs Analyst, for your time.
Thank you.
On the program.
My pleasure.
Right.